All right, so everyone's been asking for this one, a deep dive into like the psych behind unforgettable marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Like the ones that you can't get out of your head.
Mm.
We see so many ads every day, but just a handful really stick with us,
Right.
for years and years. So why is that?
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Well,
We've got 4 case studies to look at today.
Yeah.
Cadbury's Drummond Gorilla, Apple's 1984, P&G's Thank You Mom campaign, and then Red Bull kind of going to the extreme with that Stratos jump.
yeah.
And you'll find that it's interesting, they're not just about selling products. They
Right.
tap into some pretty deep human desires.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. What's fascinating is how these campaigns,
Yeah.
they go beyond just the products.
Mm-hmm.
And they connect with us on like a much deeper level.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to 2007.
Okay.
You're flipping through channels, and all of a sudden there's this gorilla on your screen.
Yeah.
Playing the drums to Phil Collins. I mean, who expects that from a chocolate commercial?
It's brilliant because it's so unexpected.
Yeah.
Cadbury was totally playing with our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And using that element of surprise, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time an ad made you laugh?
Right.
Or like genuinely smile or feel a sense of joy?
Yeah.
It's rare, right?
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
That's why this campaign was so successful.
Yeah, I mean, it made me smile. I remember it.
Yeah.
But how does that like translate to actual sales for Cadbury?
So our brains are hardwired to look for novelty,
Mm-hmm.
and they reward us for it. That unexpected moment of delight,
Yeah.
that triggers like a hit of dopamine,
Right.
that feeling of pleasure
Mm-hmm.
we instinctively want more of. And that's the magic.
Yeah.
Cadbury didn't just make a funny ad.
Yeah.
They made a positive association
Right.
with their brand.
Right.
So you see the ad,
Mm-hmm.
you get that dopamine hit,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're grabbing a Cadbury chocolate bar the next time you're at the store.
Right.
Cadbury saw a 9% increase in sales
Wow.
after this campaign.
9%.
Yeah, that's the power of tapping into our brain's reward system.
That's amazing. Makes you really look at the science behind these ads. It seems so simple.
Right. It's not just science, though.
Yeah.
It's smart marketing. They
Mhm.
understood that,
Mm-hmm.
creating an emotional response, in this case, joy and surprise, could get them real results.
All right, let's look at another iconic campaign, Apple's 1984 commercial.
Okay.
This one aired during the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Talk about high stakes.
Right.
Apple was launching the Macintosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was Apple going all in on their vision for the future of computers. They knew they had to make a statement, not just sell a product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ad itself is just so striking.
Yeah.
You've got this dystopian world, this big brother figure, like
Oh,
controlling everything.
Yeah.
And then this, rebellious heroine comes in, smashes the screen,
Right.
literally breaking the status quo.
It was such a bold move, drawing a parallel
Yeah.
to George Orwell's 1984,
Right.
which explored themes of, totalitarianism and rebellion.
Yeah.
Apple wasn't selling just a computer. They were selling an idea,
Mm-hmm.
a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, we are the champions
Yeah.
of individuality and freedom, like
Right.
breaking free from the norm.
And they only aired it once
I know.
during the Super Bowl, and yet people still talk about it today. Why is that?
Because it tapped into something universal,
Mm-hmm.
the desire to be different, to stand out
Yeah.
from the crowd. Think about the brands you like.
Right.
Do they just sell good products?
Yeah.
Or do they also represent something you value,
Yeah.
something that resonates with like your sense of self?
Yeah.
Apple's 1984 commercial wasn't just an ad. It was a cultural moment
Yeah.
that solidified their brand identity for years to come.
All right, so we've seen how Cadbury used joy and surprise.
Yeah.
Apple tapped into this idea of individuality,
Right.
rebellion. Now let's switch gears to P&G's Thank You Mom campaign,
Okay.
which took a much more emotional approach.
Yeah.
This one always gets me.
Oh, it's a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah.
PMG,
Mm-hmm.
they chose to focus on the Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
an event that already carries a lot of weight,
Yeah.
emotional weight,
Yeah.
and they built a narrative around the journeys
Right.
of these Olympic athletes
Yeah.
and the support of their mothers.
Yeah, it's not about the products themselves. It's about
Right.
the sacrifices mothers make, the love, the shared dreams.
Exactly.
It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever had a mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
P&G understood that by using these universal emotions,
Yeah.
love, gratitude, the bond between mother and child,
Mm-hmm.
they could create a really powerful connection with their audience.
Yeah.
They weren't selling laundry detergent or shampoo. They were selling a feeling,
Yeah.
a sense of shared humanity.
It's interesting that this campaign wasn't for like a specific P&G product. It was for their entire brand.
I know.
That's a pretty bold move.
Yeah, it was. And it speaks to the power of focusing
Yeah.
on those shared values.
Yeah.
P&G wasn't trying to sell you on,
Right.
the features of one product.
Yeah.
They were trying to build that emotional connection
Right.
with you as a consumer.
Yeah.
They wanted you to feel like
Mm-hmm.
they understood you,
Yeah.
that they shared your values, and that connection
Yeah.
can be so powerful when it comes to brand loyalty.
So instead of saying buy our detergent because it cleans better,
Right.
they're saying we understand the importance of family
Yeah.
and we're here to support you.
Exactly. They elevated their brand image
Yeah.
by associating themselves with these, universal human experiences.
Right.
It's a subtle but very effective approach.
Okay. So we've seen brands use humor, individuality,
Mm-hmm.
even heartfelt emotion to connect with consumers.
Yeah.
But let's get ready for something completely different.
Okay.
Red Bull,
Right.
a brand known for pushing the limits. And they
Yeah.
did just that with Felix Baumgartner's stratospheric jump.
Talk about taking things to the extreme.
Right.
Red Bull wasn't just selling an energy drink with this.
Right.
They were selling a feeling, an idea.
Yeah. I mean, the guy jumped from the edge of space.
I know.
It's a stunt that captured everyone's attention.
It did.
But what's the psychology there? Why did Red Bull do this?
They tapped into that primal desire
Mm-hmm.
for adventure, for pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of like, what's possible if we dare to dream big?
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull took that and made it huge,
Yeah.
like to an unimaginable scale.
It really makes you wonder, like, what are your own stratospheric jumps?
Right.
What dreams have you put on hold because they just seem impossible?
Yeah.
Maybe Red Bull's onto something.
It's a powerful message, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not just selling a drink. They're
Right.
selling the idea that anything is possible
Mm-hmm.
if you have the courage to go for it.
Yeah.
That kind of aspirational marketing can be so motivating.
Okay, so we've seen how these 4 campaigns
Yeah.
have gone way beyond just selling products.
Right.
They've used humor, individuality, heartfelt emotion, even extreme adventure to connect with us on a much deeper level. And it makes me think about all the messages we're bombarded with every day
Right.
and how they're influencing our choices.
That's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
By understanding the psychology behind these campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
you can become a more conscious consumer.
Yeah.
You can start to see through the marketing tactics and ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is this message really speaking to my values, or am I being manipulated?
Right.
But we'll dig deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, great. I'm ready for part 2.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the psychology behind iconic marketing campaigns. We've seen how brands like Cadbury, Apple, P&G, Red Bull have used all sorts of strategies
Right.
to make these impressions that last. But now let's really look under the hood
Yeah.
and, examine some of the techniques that make these campaigns so effective.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to think that these weren't just like happy accidents. There was a strategy behind them.
Yeah.
What were they doing?
So one of the key things, and we touched on this, is surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw with Cadbury's Drumming Gorilla.
Right.
Our brains, they're wired to notice the unexpected.
Right.
And that attention, makes the message stick.
It's like that feeling when you see a magic trick for the first time. You're like, what?
Exactly.
You're caught off guard and it sticks with you.
Exactly. Cadbury took something familiar, a chocolate commercial,
Yeah.
and just flipped it on its head.
Right.
They broke our expectations, and that surprise created a powerful emotional response,
Yeah.
which made the ad and the brand way more memorable.
So surprise is one technique.
Yeah.
What else are these marketing masterminds doing?
Another powerful tool is storytelling.
Okay.
We humans are natural storytellers.
Mm.
We love narratives that resonate with our experiences and values. Think about P&G's Thank You Mom campaign.
Yeah.
They didn't just show these happy families
Right.
using their products. They told a story
Right.
about motherhood, sacrifice, love.
It felt so personal and relatable.
Exactly. Storytelling lets brands build relationships
Yeah.
with consumers
Yeah.
based on shared values, emotions.
Yeah.
It's not about pushing a product. It's about
Yeah.
creating a connection.
Okay. Surprise storytelling. What other psychological levers are they pulling here?
Think back to Red Bull
Yeah.
and that stratospheric jump.
Okay.
They were using what we call aspirational messaging
Okay.
by showing what's possible.
Right.
In this case, jumping from space.
Yeah.
They tapped into our desire for achievement,
Hmm.
for pushing boundaries.
It's like they were saying, if Felix can jump from space,
Right.
imagine what you can do.
Exactly.
Is pretty inspiring.
Right. It makes us believe in ourselves, in our potential to do great things,
Yeah.
and it subtly links those aspirations with their brand.
Okay. So we've got surprise storytelling,
Okay.
aspirational messaging.
Mhm.
Are there any other techniques we should be aware of?
One more I think is super important is social proof.
Uh,
This is the idea that we're more likely to do something
Yeah.
if we see other people doing it.
Right.
That's why testimonials and reviews are so effective.
So it's like that feeling of, well, if everyone else is doing it,
Yeah.
it must be good.
Exactly. We're social creatures.
Right.
We look to others to see how to behave.
Yeah.
Marketers know this, and they use social proof to create a sense of popularity,
Right.
desirability around their products.
So to recap, we've got surprise storytelling, aspirational messaging,
Yeah.
and social proof.
Mhm.
These are just some of the techniques that make these campaigns work.
Right.
But here's the question I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
If we know these techniques are being used, does that make us immune?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Just knowing them doesn't make us immune.
Right.
But it gives us something very powerful awareness.
What do you mean by awareness? How does that help us in this world
Right.
of marketing and psychology?
Awareness gives you the power to make conscious choices.
Ah.
When you understand how marketing is trying to influence you,
Mm-hmm.
you can decide how you want to respond.
Okay.
You can choose to engage with messages that align with your values
Right.
and ignore the ones that don't.
So it's not about rejecting all marketing.
It's about being more conscious.
Exactly. It's about understanding the game,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the techniques, and then making decisions
I know.
based on your needs and your values. Think of it like this.
Yeah.
You wouldn't play a game without knowing the rules, right?
Right.
Marketing is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Once you understand the rules, you can play strategically.
I like that analogy. It's not about being cynical. It's about
Right.
being informed.
Absolutely. And it can actually make interacting with marketing more enjoyable.
Okay.
You start to see the cleverness, the creativity, the psychology behind it.
Okay, so I'm seeing how understanding these techniques can help us be better consumers.
Right.
But it still makes me wonder if these campaigns are so effective.
Yeah.
Are we all just puppets being manipulated?
Huh.
That's a valid concern. And, it's one that's debated a lot.
Yeah.
Marketing does have a powerful influence on our behavior.
Right.
But it's not as simple as saying we're all just mindless puppets.
Right.
We have a choice in how we respond to these messages.
So it's more of a dance
Yeah.
than a dictatorship.
I like that analogy. It's an interaction between the marketer
Yeah.
and the consumer. Both sides have a role to play.
Right.
The more informed you are, the better you can lead in that dance.
This is making me think about all the decisions we make every day.
Mm.
Not just about products,
Right.
but about everything. Are we really in control of our choices?
Yeah.
Or are we being influenced by things we're not even aware of?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
It's one that philosophers and psychologists have been thinking about for centuries.
Yeah.
The reality is we're constantly being bombarded
Mm-hmm.
with messages and influences, conscious and unconscious.
Right.
But here's the good news.
Oh.
The more aware you become of these influences,
Yep.
the more power you have to make choices that are really your own.
This has been an amazing deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing the world of marketing in a whole new light.
Good.
But I'm curious, what's next?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. We'll
Yeah.
dig into the ethical considerations around these techniques and how we can use this knowledge to become not just more conscious consumers,
Right.
but more responsible marketers as well.
That's awesome. I can't wait. Until then, I think I'm going to start paying a lot more attention to the
Yeah.
messages I'm exposed to and really ask myself,
Right.
what are they really selling and am I buying it?
That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
By questioning those messages, we take back our power.
Mm-hmm.
We become active participants in this world of influence,
Yeah.
not just passive recipients.
Welcome back. We've been exploring the psychology behind those iconic marketing campaigns, the ones that get in our heads and just stay there. We've seen how brands use surprise storytelling, aspiration, and even social proof
Right.
to really create an impact.
Yeah. And as we've talked about, understanding these techniques is like having this decoder ring
Mm-hmm.
for advertising.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you immune,
Yeah.
but it does make you more informed.
Right. Absolutely. But all this talk about like psychological techniques
Yeah.
and influence, it makes you wonder about like the ethical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
If companies can tap into like our deepest desires,
Right.
are they crossing a line?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Where does persuasion end and manipulation begin?
right.
It's something ethical marketers think about all the time.
Yeah,
The goal is to connect with consumers
right.
and ultimately persuade them to choose your product or service,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do it while respecting their autonomy,
Right.
their ability to make informed decisions.
So it's not just about what works, it's about what's right. So
Right.
it's like a moral dimension to this whole marketing game.
Yeah, there is. Think back to P&G's Thank You Mom campaign.
Oh, okay.
It was really effective at tugging at our heartstrings,
Yeah.
but it highlighted something true.
Right.
The sacrifices parents make for their children.
Mm-hmm.
Was it manipulative? Maybe.
Yeah.
But did it also promote a positive message?
Yeah.
I think so. And that's where it gets tricky. It's not
Right.
always black and white.
It's not like there's a rule book that says these techniques are good, these are bad.
Right. Exactly.
It's more nuanced than that.
It is. And that's why it's so important to be an engaged consumer,
Hmm.
a critical consumer.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of the techniques they're using
Right.
and ask yourself, is this appealing to my needs and values? Or am I being swayed by something manipulative?
So how do we do that? How do we become more savvy consumers?
Great.
What are some red flags?
One big one is when a campaign uses fear or insecurity.
Okay.
Think of those ads that play on our anxieties about aging or appearance
Yeah.
or social status.
Right.
They're not selling a product, they're selling a solution
Right.
to a problem they've created.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like they're making a need where
Right.
there wasn't one before.
That's a classic manipulation
yeah.
tactic.
Yeah.
Another red flag is when a campaign makes these unrealistic promises.
Okay.
If it sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
it probably is.
Like those miracle weight loss products or like the
Exactly.
get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, those campaigns, they exploit our desire for those quick fixes
Right.
and easy solutions. But real life is rarely that simple.
This is making me realize that being a consumer takes a lot more critical thinking
Yeah.
than I thought. It's not just about choosing what I like.
Right.
It's about understanding the forces that are shaping my preferences
Exactly.
without me even knowing.
We often think about marketing as something that happens to us,
Yeah.
but we can choose to be active in the process.
Right.
We can ask questions, we can do our research,
Mm.
and make choices that are good for us.
So if we could sum all this up for our listeners,
Yeah.
what's the one thing we want them to remember from this whole deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is that knowledge is power.
Mm.
The more you know about persuasion, the more power you have
Right.
as a consumer.
Yeah.
You can be more discerning, more critical, and more in control of your choices.
Yeah.
You're not just a target, you're an informed participant.
I love that. And you know, those campaigns we've been talking about,
Yeah.
they didn't just happen by accident.
Right.
They were made by marketers who really understood human psychology.
Yeah.
And now you understand it too. So
Yeah.
use that knowledge wisely.
Well said.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay in control.